Hello everyone, my name's Aloubell, and welcome to part 20 of Miraculous Bonds Beyond Fate, my Miraculous Ladybug AU with a different origin story and different other things too. If this video is your first exposure to Bonds Beyond Fate, then please check out the story from the beginning. Return for part 20 when you are ready. For everyone else, sit back, relax, hit that like button for the algorithm, subscribe for more reviews, rants, and rewrites, and if you want to support me even further, you can become a channel member by clicking the join button. Not only will you get cool perks, but you'll be helping me towards my dream of a creative career. A full-time job in this means more videos for all of you. No pressure though, I still like making videos regardless. Anyway, put the broken heart emoji in the comments and enjoy Miraculous Bonds Beyond Fate Part 20. Last time on Bonds Beyond Fate, the end of the school day had arrived and Alya and Chloe were released from serving their punishments for the day. It became very apparent to the two that keeping the conflict between them a secret from their parents was pretty impossible. Chloe got chewed out by hers and completely dismissed. Not wanting to go home, she went to stay with a friend. Alya also got scolded, but thanks to a plan by Nino that required Ladybug and Cat Noir to make a guest appearance, she was able to get out of further consequences. Alya was then left to reflect on everything that had gone wrong between her and Chloe. And now the story continues. Let's now take a moment to unveil the tragic tale of two teenagers whose bond seemingly shattered. One is a spoiled rich girl with an overinflated sense of importance who hides her intense insecurities. The other is a reliable and down-to-earth journalist in the making who has a miraculous secret. The rich girl would demean the journalist and her friends, while specifically targeting the journalist's best friend, tormenting her when the opportunity would arise. There's years of bad blood to sift through, and differing opinions on whose fault it all is. And yet, at the heart of it all, there's a glimmer of regret. For you see, these two teens weren't always enemies. Once upon a time, there was a very young child from an upper-class family named Chloe Bourgeois. She was the youngest daughter of a popular politician named Andre and the director of a renowned fashion magazine named Audrey. Zoe Lee, her older sister by 3 years, is the golden child of the family. She was the planned child who was every bit poised, kind, beautiful, and full of potential. Chloe herself was not expected, so she wasn't welcomed with very warm arms in one case, and with the other, a complete inability to properly parent. Nevertheless, she was spoiled rotten and had expectations put on her early on. The four of them all lived in a very prestigious hotel in Paris that was well known in high society. In this hotel was a very gifted chef named Marlena Césaire. Her food was beloved, and so her services were sought by the likes of the Bourgeois family. The Bourgeois, of course, took pride in the chef that added to the reputation of their establishment and had a good relationship with her and her family. Marlena just so happened to have a young daughter named Alya around the same age as Chloe. Alya lived in a modest, loving home with her older sister Nora, her father Otis, and mother, where she was encouraged to try her best and enjoy what life had to offer. Eventually, the two families introduced their small daughters, mostly for Audrey to have a means of having someone else watch Chloe, and the two immediately hit it off. Well, so to speak.
"Bow to your princess,"
Chloe told the other girl upon meeting her.
"Why would I bow to you? You don't look very princessy,"
Alya would reply.
"Well, I am, so you have to bow." Nah. But how about a high five?"
Alya held up her hand in the air towards the girl with a big smile. Taken aback from the audacity, Chloe hesitantly reached up to oblige.
"What kind of high five is that? Do it again like you mean it. Real princesses know how to high five,"
Alya criticized. Puffing her cheeks in frustration, Chloe spun around to wind herself up and put all of her force into a powerful high five, one that Alya didn't anticipate. With Chloe's unexpected force forward, Alya lost her footing and fell backwards with Chloe landing on top of her. In the background, Alya's parents were amused and recorded this event on a camera. Meanwhile, Audrey was tapping her toes and glancing at her watch. Giggling, Alya said,
Now that's more like it. I guess you are a princess after all. See, I told ya. Wanna go play? Yeah.
And so the two became best friends. They were inseparable, with Chloe practically becoming a part of Alya's family since she spent most of her time with the Césaires. Chloe would insist on her royalty, and Alya would indulge her on this fantasy ride since she found the pretend play to be fun. Quite quickly, the girls adopted nicknames for each other, Leah and Loie, both loving how the second letter of their name started with an L. Alya, in fact, didn't believe Chloe when Chloe tried to explain that there is an H after the C, since it was too silent to be noticed. It wasn't too long until Chloe went from being babysat by nannies to attending Alya's preschool. The girl was nowhere close to being shy. Upon arriving in the class, she immediately announced her presence.
Stop what you're doing. Your princess has arrived.
All of the other kids just stared at her, understandably confused. But Alya didn't hesitate to shout out,
Hey, that's my best friend.
And from there on out, Alya and Chloe spent every moment of their school days together. For over a year, they learned and played, building core memories that will last for years to come. They would eventually graduate and attend the same kindergarten. Everything seemed like all was right in the world. Until one fateful day. There was a new student in class, a very shy girl named Marinette Dupin Chang. She'd hide behind the teacher and cry when the other students got too loud, or too close. Both her parents and the teacher tried to encourage her to mingle and introduce herself, but she was too afraid, only crying more when her parents had to leave. Chloe was annoyed by the crying child, whereas Alya was excited by the prospect of a new friend. Parents leaving her with a box of cupcakes, Marinette got rushed by a mob of confection-loving students, only freaking her out more. Being the bringer of sweets, Marinette was automatically on everyone's good side. But the influx of loud attention led to the blue-haired girl crying and wailing once more. Alya and Chloe approached her.
Why did that make you cry?
Chloe asked, failing to understand.
I love getting attention like that. You know, you cry a lot. Are you sure you're a big kid?
Marinette didn't answer. Patting her on the head, Alya said,
There. Are you okay, Marinette?
She then gave the new girl a hug before helping her up. Meanwhile, Chloe looked on at this whole interaction with a disapproving frown. Sensing her kindness and feeling a wave of comfort, Marinette looked at Alya with her big blue eyes, still sniffling, but calming down.
Marinette.
What?
My name is Marinette, not Marinette. Oh, so you can talk,
Chloe commented.
I'm Alya, and this is my bestie Chloe, although we call each other Leah and Loie.
After Alya gestured to her, Chloe gave her new acquaintance a slight bow and curtsy.
A princess must always greet her subjects with grace,
the small blonde girl said sweetly. Marinette's eyes lit up.
You're a princess? Well, yeah. Isn't it obvious? And one day, I'll be queen. Bow before me,
Chloe demanded. A little confused, Marinette obliged, and Alya looked on with a smile. With a grin of superiority, Chloe held out her hand to the girl.
Now, kiss the back of my hand. Why? Because that's what you do when you meet someone royal. Don't your mommy or daddy ever read you fairy tales? Well, yes, but I don't want to kiss your hand. It's yucky.
Offended, Chloe stomped her foot down and puffed up her cheeks.
I'm not yucky. I'm super clean, pretty, and exceptional. Don't be ridiculous. Huh, that's a new word, Alya noted. It sounds as long as that other one. Ridiculous.
Exasperated, Chloe turned to her friend.
No, Leah, it's ridiculous. It's like the opposite of exceptional. It means lame, bad, weird, and awful.
She pointed to Marinette.
Just like you.
Upon hearing the insult, Marinette's eyes began to water again.
Wait, don't cry again.
Alya hugged Marinette once more.
Chloe, don't say mean things to Marinette. She cries easily. Say you're sorry.
Rolling her eyes, Chloe sighed.
Fine, I'm sorry. But she should say sorry too for saying I'm yucky. I'm sorry. I just don't want to kiss your hand. I only kiss my mama, and my papa, and my Grammy and Grandpa, and... Okay, you only kiss family. I get it.
Chloe flipped her hair.
Just tell me I'm pretty and I'll forgive you.
Still unsure what to do, Marinette looked over at Alya, who grinned and nodded to her. Giving in to the demand, Marinette said,
You're pretty? Yay, you're not ridiculous anymore.
Chloe took hold of Marinette's hand and led her over to the dollhouse.
Let's play.
And so, the three girls prepared to play with dolls. But when Marinette wanted to play with Chloe's favorite mommy doll, Chloe refused and preferred that Marinette played with the baby doll since she cried so much. When Chloe wouldn't budge, Marinette cried and the teacher came over, telling Chloe to share. When Chloe refused, the teacher threatened to take the dolls from her completely. Enraged, Chloe released custody of the doll by spiking it, before pushing Marinette down to the ground, making her land on her bottom with a thud. Naturally, Chloe got in trouble for this and was put on timeout. In the midst of the chaos, Alya was stunned and didn't know how to react. It was so weird. Chloe had her spicy moments, but she had never been hostile like that before. It worried Alya, and at the same time it made her sad to see Chloe get punished. Instinctively, and with purpose, Alya tried to tiptoe over to her best friend, but it only took a few steps before the teacher blocked her path. Downcast, Alya paused and hung her head low. She didn't know what to do without Chloe, but she did know that she would get in trouble if she tried to talk to Chloe again. So, instead, she joined in with her classmates and teacher to try and cheer up Marinette. Peering over her shoulder, Chloe watched on with contempt as the new girl cried and got all of the attention. It was a very long 10 minutes. When the punishment was over, Chloe was led over to Marinette, who was playing with Alya, in order to apologize. But after doing so, Marinette cowered away from her, making Chloe even more annoyed and frustrated. So, in a huff, she went to play something else and Alya followed suit. For the rest of the day, Chloe and Alya kept their distance from Marinette. Chloe for obvious reasons, and Alya cared more about her friend than the new girl, despite her instincts saying how badly she wanted to get to know her. And so the students and their teacher went through their schedule. Playtime, snack, story time, arts and crafts, playtime again, lunch, music, and then it was time to go home. Much to everyone's surprise, Audrey Bourgeois came in to fetch her daughter, something she never did. With her celebrity status, there were, of course, some starstruck adults who couldn't help but stare. She'd wave and smile at them for appearance's sake, but largely didn't interact with the unworthy. Along with her was Chloe's older sister Zoe Lee, who zoomed past the doors and scooped up her baby sister into a giant bear hug, much to the small child's dismay. Zoe Lee rained onto her a barrage of kisses, to which Chloe tried to escape. Alya just giggled at the sight. Taking Audrey aside, the teacher reported to her what Chloe did that day. "Impossible," Audrey responded. "My daughter is a bourgeois. She wouldn't dare do something so uncouth. You must have seen the situation wrong." Exasperated, the teacher tried to explain. "No, Mrs. Bourgeois, I didn't see anything wrong. Chloe got mad that she couldn't keep her doll and she pushed the poor girl. It's actually a pretty common thing for some children her age to have some rare or occasional mildly aggressive behaviors when they don't know how to regulate their emotions. This isn't a slight against you or your family or even Chloe. She just has to learn to control her emotions better, which most people tend to do with the right guidance." "How dare you even consider my daughter to be anywhere close to, common? She may not be as exceptional as me or her sister, but she's not so lowly as to be compared with her commoner peers." Audrey then stuck her nose up high in a condescending manner. Lightly groaning, the teacher would continue to try and convince the woman of the reality of the situation. But in the middle of this explanation, Audrey caught sight of something. She saw Marinette holding up her arts and crafts project and showing it to her parents. Gasping, Audrey lightly shoved aside the teacher and approached the small girl. "Oh my! How extraordinary!" she said upon seeing the artwork. Scared, Marinette held her piece down and attempted to back away slowly. "Did you make this?" Audrey asked her, pointing to the project. It was a piece of vibrant construction paper with various colors of square tissue paper glued onto it in a randomized fashion. "Isn't it just adorable?" Marinette's mom asked. "It isn't just adorable. It is fabulous." Marinette's mom tried to get Marinette to say thank you, but she wouldn't talk. Something about Audrey made her uneasy. "Who's your kid?" Marinette's dad asked. Audrey waved him off. "That doesn't matter. What matters is the hidden talent of this young girl. Look at that design. So bold, so daring, so different. This could be the next big thing." By this point, Chloe noticed her mom talking about Marinette and her art project. Scowling, she managed to squeeze away from Zoe Lee, picked up her own completed art, and made her way over to them. "What an utterly exceptional young girl! Very astute, not to mention creative. You have a very bright future ahead of you." Audrey then patted Marinette on the head, not picking up on how uncomfortable the girl was. Finally reaching them, Chloe held up her own art, which was along the same lines as Marinette's.
Mommy, look! I'm exceptional too!
The woman, now frowning upon hearing her daughter's voice, looked on in disappointment at her daughter's creation. "Right now, the only thing exceptional about you, my dear, is your sister and your fabulous mother. Keep working hard, and maybe you'll get there. An artist, you are not." Feeling a wave of depression, Chloe's whole body seemed to sink as she allowed her artwork to fall out of her hands. Fortunately, Marinette's parents got mad at Audrey on Chloe's behalf and were so ready to tell Audrey off. However, the teacher interjected, attempting to tell Audrey that all of the kids essentially did the same project and they were all special in their own way. Audrey vehemently disagreed. Alya also accidentally let it slip that she liked how Marinette's picture looked the most, but then added that she liked Chloe's second best. Feeling betrayed, Chloe prepared to start an argument, but was interrupted by Marinette's parents being amused by Alya, who introduced herself to them and said that she thinks Marinette is nice. She also thanked them for the cupcakes, which were super yummy. Feeling a wave of relief, Marinette's parents shed a single tear, knowing that their daughter made her first friend. So much was happening at that moment, and Chloe just stood in disbelief. Why was everyone giving this random blue-haired girl so much attention? Why was Chloe's own mother fawning over this girl? More than that, why was Alya saying such nice things about her? Marinette wasn't nice. She was annoying. She was a crybaby. What was going on? Unfortunately, Zoe Lee was too unintentionally distracted watching and cooing at the class pet guinea pig to notice that her little sister needed attention and love at that moment. So when Chloe reached the tipping point of her frustration, she reached over and ripped Marinette's art project in half and tossed the pieces out of her hands. Marinette, of course, cried, and her parents tried to console her. The teacher chastised Chloe, and so did her mother. "Chloe, you foolish, foolish girl! How could you?" This action absolutely disgusted Audrey, who was beginning to believe the teacher's report from earlier. More than anything, Audrey lamented the loss of what she considered to be great art. She picked up the pieces and tried to see if it was repairable while maintaining its beauty. Even Alya was upset by this point.
Why are you such a meanie today, Loie? I didn't like that at all. It was the ugliest thing I ever saw.
Ugly? Ugly. Ugly. That word echoed in Chloe's mind, even after her mother grabbed her wrist and dragged her away from the school and into the limousine, her sister trailing closely behind. It was all she could hear, even with Audrey's disapproving speech being recited before her all the way home. From that moment, up until dinner, Chloe seemed to shut down as her developing brain attempted to process literally everything that happened that day. She didn't speak to anyone, and she didn't play on her own or watch TV. She just sat or stood motionless, barely blinking and barely taking in any other stimulus that was before her. Eventually, at dinner, during which her whole family was present, she began to unthaw as she finally asked,
"If a person is bad, they need to be punished, right?"
"Yes, as you should be," Audrey confirmed, not even giving the girl eye contact. "Isn't that right, dear?" Mr. Bourgeois agreed between bites. "No new clothes for a month, young lady. And no going off to play with that young Césaire girl. At least until next week." Chloe didn't even hear the extent of her consequences. All she heard was the confirmation that punishment was justified if someone did something they weren't supposed to do. Marinette was a crybaby, so Chloe couldn't punish her. Chloe would only get into trouble again because everyone would run towards Marinette the moment she cried. Audrey couldn't be punished. She respected her mom too much and sort of feared her. The teacher couldn't be punished. Once again, Chloe would only get into trouble, and it was harder to do things to adults anyway. That only left one person, Alya. Alya betrayed her that day. She played with Marinette. She hugged Marinette. She said Marinette's art was better than hers. She called Chloe a meanie, and she said she was ugly. Alya shouldn't lie like that. Alya was the toughest kid that Chloe knew. She never cried, and she always laughed stuff off. If Chloe punished her, Alya might be a bit grumpy, but she'd get over it. And she'd never tell on her because they were besties. Best friends don't tell. That's what she was always taught. Giving it some thought, Chloe remembered a video she saw about a dog getting sprayed in the face with a spray bottle after it was chewing up its owner's shoe. That seemed fitting. Looking around her home, Chloe searched and searched each cabinet until she was able to sneak into one particular place that held a bunch of cleaning supplies. She saw a squirt bottle with a red nozzle top and a blue liquid on the inside. She couldn't read what the label said, but it seemed like it would do the trick. Perfect. Slipping back into her room, Chloe hid the spray bottle in her backpack. The next day, with a smug and confident grin, Chloe was dropped off to her kindergarten class. The teacher greeted her and asked if today was going to be a better day. Chloe cheerfully agreed. As opposed to yesterday, Marinette was already in the room playing, but the moment she saw Chloe, she turned her back to her and avoided looking at her entirely. Her movements became more rigid as nerves welled up. Chloe was irritated at the sight of the girl, but paid her no mind. When Alya arrived, her mother was there with her. Placing her hands on her hips, Marlena Césaire said hi to Chloe. "Well, hello, Miss Bourgeois."
"Hi, Mama Lena."
"I heard you made some mistakes yesterday with the new girl." Marlena squatted down to Chloe's height. "You know, it's okay to be mad about something, but it's not okay to hurt others. You know that, right?"
"Yes, Mama Lena."
"So, next time you're angry or want attention, just say something, all right? You know I don't want you to get into trouble. Be the bright, beautiful girl I know you are." She patted her head affectionately. Marlena then gave Alya a kiss and hug before leaving. Alya, a bit hesitant, asked Chloe if she was feeling better today and if that meanie stuff was all gone. Chloe confirmed that it was. Relieved, the two girls went to go play together and all seemed like it was fine. Until recess. The children all went to play outside in the yard. Hiding the squirt bottle in her shirt, Chloe told Alya that she had something cool she wanted to show her and that it was a secret. Believing her, Alya took Chloe by the hand and the two girls hid behind a bush.
"Okay, what is it?"
Alya whispered as she leaned in towards her friend. Chloe revealed the spray bottle.
What's that?" "You are a bad girl, Leah. So now I have to punish you."
Without warning, Chloe began to squirt Alya in the face repeatedly with the mysterious blue liquid. The moment the substance got into her eyes, it stung and burned beyond comprehension. As Chloe continued to spray, Alya slapped her hands over her eyes and screamed out in bloody murder as she fell backwards in pain, shouting for Chloe to stop. The strong chemical stench was coming through loud and clear by this point, but the young rich girl was undeterred. She continued to spray, reminding Alya that she was very bad even as she rolled side to side like a distressed animal. Feeling that it was taking too long for the bottle to be empty, Chloe untwisted the top and dumped the whole thing onto Alya's face, getting some of the liquid into her poor friend's mouth, causing her to begin choking and gagging as she lay in the smelly blue puddle. By this point, some of the other kids came to investigate, but by the severity of Alya's screams, some adults came over and looked on in horror as they saw Alya writhing in pain. Seeing the bottle in Chloe's possession, they smacked it out of her hand and pulled her away, attempting to tend to Alya, who seemed to have lost consciousness at this point and wasn't breathing, and whose mouth was foaming up. Snapping into reality, Chloe finally realized what had happened. Alya was crying. Her tears had mixed with the solution and ran down as blue streams down her cheeks. She wasn't moving.
Leah?
Everything that happened next was a confused, chaotic blur. There was a large crowd, kids crying, adults trying to resuscitate Alya, a siren, red-blue lights, some men and women in unfamiliar suits, Alya breathing again, but not waking up. They took her away very quickly. It was too much for Chloe, and she didn't understand everything. But one thing she did know, she messed up. Parents were called. The Césaires were horrified and sick to their stomachs as they rushed to the side of their small child who was in critical condition. The bourgeois were forced to abandon their work for the day and be slammed by the consequences of their daughter's actions. They were severely scolded for not having eyes on Chloe and letting her even have access to such strong cleaning fluid and not checking her belongings. Charges were threatened against them for Alya's hospital bills, not to mention the emotional toll on the Césaires. It was so much. Too much. And at the center of it all was Chloe. Eventually, slowly, but surely, things slowed down a bit and everyone had a chance to breathe. Alya was in stable condition and resting at the hospital. Her eyes were wrapped with bandages and it was suspected that her perfect vision was gone forever. She'd have to wear corrective lenses for the rest of her life. The insides of her nostrils, vocal cords, and lungs were also damaged, but those were expected to heal within a few weeks. All things considered, and despite the scariness and drama, Alya was going to physically be mostly alright. The same couldn't exactly be said about her emotional and mental state. There was a bit of a rift between the Césaires and bourgeois after this incident, which was to be expected. Marlena took an understandable leave from work, but didn't necessarily indicate that she would quit. Right now, she just needed to take care of her little girl. She and her husband both knew deep in their heart that Chloe didn't mean to hurt Alya, nor did they think that Chloe 100% knew what was going on, considering she was only 5. But they couldn't act like everything was alright. More than anything, they blamed the neglect of Chloe's parents. There was a significant lack of care in her upbringing that led to this. It sickened them. One day, Chloe, accompanied by one of her butlers, came to visit Alya in the hospital with a bouquet of elegant orange flowers. She figured it would cheer her up. Against their better judgment, the Césaire parents allowed Chloe into the room. Alya's eyes were still covered with bandages as she laid upright in the bed. Her older sister Noir was sitting on a seat across the room, playing on a portable video game device. She wanted to say something nasty to Chloe, but her parents instantly gave her a "don't you dare" look. Chloe approached the bed.
Leah? Are you awake? I brought you these flowers. They're very pretty and smell nice. I know how much you like orange.
But as Alya recognized Chloe's voice, she started to scream and tears escaped from the bottom of the wraps. She wailed and shook in her bed as her parents tried to calm her down. "Shh. You're okay, Alya. It's okay." Marlena turned to Chloe. "Chloe, sweetie, I think you should go. Thank you for the flowers. It means a lot. Alya will love them once she's feeling better." Marlena tried to give Chloe a smile, but it was shaky, unstable, weak, fake. Alya's father Otis came around and took the flowers from Chloe, giving her a slight bow before returning to his daughter's side. Knowing their time there was over, the butler tried to shepherd Chloe out of the room. Broken-hearted, at first, she accepted this gesture and slowly turned to leave. But then something welled up inside of her and she shouted,
I'm so so sorry, Alya. I'm so sorry. You're my best friend. Please forgive me. I'm so sorry. I love you. Please still be my friend.
But all Alya could do was cry and whimper. Her own tears blurring her vision, Chloe wiped them away with her palms in the back of her hands before running out of the room. That night, while the bourgeois family sat down to eat dinner, Chloe was melancholic and lethargically picking at her food. Her world had begun to crumble, and things were only about to get worse. "Tomorrow I'm moving to New York with Zoe Lee," Audrey announced.
What?
Chloe looked up at her mother in disbelief. "You heard me. There's business I have to attend to, and my brand can better grow when I'm actually living near the central hub of my empire." Seeing Chloe's surprise, Audrey turned to Andre. "I thought you told her about this." Eyes widening and darting between his wife and youngest daughter, Andre cleared his throat. "My apologies. I got so busy that it slipped my mind." Annoyed, Audrey scoffed. "Great. Now I have to deal with this. Well, I guess her finding out now will make this slightly easier, as she'll be less disappointed."
Where's New York? Is it far away?
"Quite. It's a whole ocean away, so you can't walk there or take a limo."
But why are you leaving? And why is Zoe Lee going? Can I go?
"I already said why. Zoe Lee is in a very sensitive moment in her fabulous career development, and there are excellent opportunities for her in New York, so of course she's coming with me. And no, you can't go because of your recent deplorable behaviors. I considered letting you come along, but now I realize you aren't ready." Slamming her hands on the table, Chloe exclaimed,
I am ready.
"See? That's exactly what I mean. You're acting like a brat, and I don't accept that. I refuse to deal with that."
Mommy, please.
Chloe began to get choked up by her tears.
You told me before that we were bringing Chloe, Mommy. I want Chloe there too. I'll be lonely without her. You said she could come with me.
Zoe Lee added. "Things change, Zoe Lee. You'll have to accept that. It's a part of life. Besides, you'll have plenty of people around you. You won't be lonely. In fact, you'll be too busy to be lonely." Becoming upset herself, Zoe Lee tried to bargain with her mother, asking why the whole family can't just go to New York so they all can stay together. Audrey explained that Andre was growing in political power in Paris and needed to keep it that way. Zoe Lee continued her plight, but it was to no avail. Audrey was adamant, and Zoe Lee was unwilling to fight her. Defeated, Zoe Lee whispered,
I'm sorry, Chloe.
And so, it was settled. Zoe Lee and Audrey left out on a flight that night. Chloe barely had any time to say goodbye and was left feeling completely broken and empty. Something broke inside of her that she couldn't even bring herself to cry anymore. When did everything go wrong? Oh, she knew. When Marinette Dupin Chang arrived at her school. It was all her fault. Everything was her fault. Chloe lost everything. No one else deserved punishment more than Marinette. Chloe no longer cared if she got into trouble. She just wanted revenge. On her first day back to school after all of that drama, Chloe was alone without Alya there. She was on her own. The whole world had vanished, and all she could see was Marinette. All she could hear was Marinette. Chloe robotically walked over to Marinette, who was building with some blocks. She stood over her, menacingly, not showing any indication of emotion. The teacher instantly knew that something bad was going to happen the moment she saw the two girls next to each other. But it was too late. Chloe lunged at Marinette, slamming her to the ground, biting her arm hard in 3 different spots to the point of drawing blood, and slamming a fist down onto her face before pulling her hair. Marinette screamed as she tried to fight off Chloe. The teacher instantly swiped Chloe off of her and called her caretakers to come take Chloe home. Chloe had been expelled. And the rest is history. Chloe was forced to go into therapy for a while, and so was Marinette and Alya. Audrey was less than thrilled about the happenings with her daughter, but was even more convinced that she made the right decision to leave Chloe behind. Marlena decided to continue to work for the bourgeois as the head chef of their hotel, only because she had made good money and a good life for her family there, and didn't want to jeopardize that. The Césaires did, in fact, however, cut their friendly ties with the bourgeois and were only in a strictly professional relationship. Alya, now with glasses, eventually returned to her kindergarten without Chloe. Her and Marinette became close, and it wasn't long before they were best friends. They'd continued to go to the same school as each other as they got older. As for Chloe, she was to be homeschooled for a while and given personal tutors. During this time, she was always by herself and didn't have any friends or anyone to talk to other than her teddy bear. It was about halfway through first grade before she was introduced to Adrien Agreste through the connection between her mother and his father, Gabriel Agreste, who was a famous fashion designer. Audrey, although awful, recognized that her daughter needed social interaction with kids her age if she was to grow up somewhat decently. So once she caught wind that Gabriel had a kid around her daughter's age, she set them up. Upon meeting Chloe, Adrien's mother Emily became elated as she lifted the girl into her arms and hugged her. "Oh, she's absolutely darling! Audrey, how could you ever leave someone so adorable behind?" "Quite easily, actually," Audrey blatantly replied to her through a tablet screen from her location in New York. Said tablet was being held up by Gabriel's assistant Natalie. Audrey continued, "You're welcome to borrow her whenever you want." "Audrey!" Emily did her best to cover Chloe's ears. "You can't just lend out children like that," Emily disapprovingly told her. "You'll make Chloe feel bad. You raise your kid your way, and I'll raise mine my way. In any case, I'm not here to be lectured, Emily. I just wanted to make sure everything went smoothly. Gabriel, this is okay with you?" "Yes, it should be fine. With how much we travel, Emily and I were thinking that Adrien needed a friend. We are truly grateful for this opportunity." Audrey smirked. "Now that's the kind of humility and reverence I like to see. It's always a pleasure to see you, Gabriel. Ta-ta for now." She then logged off without saying goodbye to Chloe. Grimacing, Emily told her husband, "I don't know why you humor her. It only feeds her ego and she's not learning anything." Gabriel shrugged. "Audrey Bourgeois is not worth the trouble. She's brilliant at what she does, but not at much else." The man then softened as he looked down at Chloe, who was still hanging out in his wife's arms. He lightly stroked the little girl's cheek as he grinned at her. "I'm sorry your mother's like that, little one." Emily smiled at her too and gave her another hug. "Ooh, I always wanted a son and a daughter. And she looks like she could be ours too. Don't you think so, Natalie?" "Yes, madam. She looks like a perfect combination of you both," Natalie encouraged. Emily put on a wide grin with the confirmation. "She's perfect for Adrien." Chloe didn't quite understand anything that was happening, and she was still kind of numb at this point, but something about Emily's hugs made her feel cozy. This feeling was so foreign to her that she had forgotten it existed. Chloe melted into the hug. The experience was then interrupted by little boy Adrien, who soon tapped his mom's leg.
"Mommy, is that my new friend?"
Giving him a coy grin, Emily nodded in turn so that Chloe could properly see him. "Adrien, this is Chloe. Chloe, this is my son Adrien. You two are going to be the best of friends. At least, I hope you will. Chloe, the three of us go many places in the world, and we want you to come with us sometimes. Would you like that?"
I don't know."
With a sympathetic sigh, Emily put the girl down so that the two kids could face one another. "Make sure you're a gentleman, Adrien," Gabriel told his son. Adrien nodded as he extended his hand out and gave Chloe a friendly smile. "Hi, I'm Adrien." Remembering the disaster of the last time she met a new kid, Chloe rejected Adrien and turned away from him, not even giving him so much as a hello. Not sure what he did wrong, Adrien asked,
"Are you mad at me? Oh, you have really shiny hair. It's really pretty. And so is your dress."
Pretty. This specific trigger word finally caused Chloe to emote in surprise. She fidgeted with her ponytail.
"You think I'm pretty?" "Yeah, super pretty. I think you're the prettiest girl. Well, other than my mommy, I mean."
Emily and Gabriel both smiled knowingly to one another.
Okay, I'll take it."
"Take what?" Adrien asked. Zipping around, Chloe instantly slid into his personal space and looked him right in the eye.
Do you have any other friends?
Blinking in confusion, Adrian answered with a bit of sadness in his voice. No, not really. Upon hearing that, Chloe grinned widely like a Cheshire cat.
Great! Then you're my best friend forever. My Adrikins.
And so, Chloe and Adrian became the best of friends. The egress would often bring Chloe along on their trips, allowing her to see much of the world. Her genius was starting to become more prevalent to her tutors at this point, but in order to stay with Adrian, she refused to accelerate her education. And way too often, whenever Chloe was home, her father Andre would try to compensate for his lack of paternal skills by buying Chloe either whatever she wanted or any expensive thing he thought would appease her. It was the easiest thing for him to do, not only to stay on his daughter's good side, but also keep her out of trouble and pacified. In time, the therapy stopped and Chloe was deemed ready to go back to regular school for 2nd grade. At least part-time. No one expected for her to end up right back in a class with Marinette and Alya. The tension was immediately very thick as none of the girls properly knew how to handle this confrontation. Chloe was a bit nervous. Understandably so, considering she couldn't help but notice the new glasses that were previously never on Alya's face. It didn't take much to put 2 and 2 together to realize why the sudden need for them. Guilt aside, she was happy to see Alya and wanted to make amends, but the moment she got too close to them, Alya tearfully snapped and yelled at Chloe, telling her to back off, all while shielding Marinette with her own body. Understanding that this was how things were, Chloe held back her instinctual response to lash out and walked away. This was the year that Nino was introduced to everyone. The moment he joined the class, Chloe attempted to claim him as her friend, and he humored her for a little while. But Nino quite quickly realized that she was too bossy, so he went over to hang out with Alya and Marinette instead. He really liked Alya's glasses, as he wore glasses too. This caused something to snap in Chloe, as she momentarily forgot what she learned in therapy, and once again rushed over to Marinette to begin assaulting her with slaps and kicks that would eventually result in bruises. So of course Chloe was kicked out of the class and took the rest of the year off from public school and resumed her full-time homeschooling with Adrian. From then on, when the time came once again for Chloe to physically attend school, she and Marinette specifically were not allowed in the same class. In fact, it was highly discouraged from them interacting at all. Her being around Alya also seemed a little iffy, but Chloe wasn't as overly hostile towards her. As she got older, Chloe steadily calmed down and her attacks on Marinette became less frequent as the two didn't cross paths much. Occasionally, she would engage in a cruel prank or two if she was in the mood, and only doing so if she could get away with it and not get into trouble. But more than anything, Chloe was just nasty to her and insulted her whenever she was motivated. This negativity would extend to Nino and Alya too, but not as extreme. Meanwhile, Chloe would keep Adrian to herself, with her being his only friend for years and years. Despite her clinginess and air of superiority, Adrian loved her like a sister, for only he knew the gentleness and mindfulness she was indeed capable of. And now we find ourselves in the present day. All parties are now 14 years old, go to the same school, and, due to the overconfidence of their well-meaning teacher Miss Bustier, reside in the same classroom. Stuff continues to happen and everything is still a mess. Hopefully something changes soon. The reality of the situation, though, is that right now, there is a maniacal supervillain with superpowers who is willing to hurt other people and destroy the world, all to bring his wife back to life. So until that is dealt with, fixing the deep rift between a group of teenagers, unfortunately, does not take precedence at the current moment, especially when some of those teenagers have to deal with said madman. The bonds that have been severed will have to wait just a little while longer before they can properly mend. If they can properly mend. But what if, by chance, it is these bonds, and others, that therein lie the secrets to victory? Only time will tell. But as for now, that's all there is. There isn't any more.